Osborne's Auto Repair, serving downtown Wilmington for 30 years. Delaware State certified in auto emissions. We do tune-ups, brakes, air conditioning, all car needs. Stop in and see Ed Osborne or his son, Ed Osborne Jr. That's Osborne's Auto Repair, 658-0377, or visit us on the web at osbornesauto.com. Stop in and see Osborne's.
Okay, again, we're back, and I think I might get some graphics and whatnot, and some phone numbers up with this second camera. They don't switch around in here, and all that's good. And trying to really make sure that we have the quality going out, coming through your homes, and making you feel proud as you sit here and you watch our programs. Let me say, as I started to share, Sandy calls me on Saturday, usually in the morning when she sees the paper, I guess. I don't get to look at the newspapers. I read certain stories when people call me and say, did you hear or know this or that? It's in the paper. Then I'll thumb through and take a look to kind of be abreast of what's going on. Then I'll put the paper down. I may have 8 or 10 papers stacked up before I'm ready to sit and look through all the articles and read the papers from front to back if the articles are interesting. And that's why a lot of times when there's death, I don't go through the obituaries and I don't know. And I want to also, before going where I was getting ready to go, I want to express my condolences to the Perkins family, my neighbors, Zudi Perkins and Sue Bobby and Joe Perkin, all of them, Denny and them. Want to express my condolences on the loss of your uncle, and Zudi, if you're sitting out there, with the loss of your brother as he was celebrated in the going home service on last week. Again, any of you that are out there that have lost loved ones, God bless you. You have our condolences, and keep your hand in God's hand, because the good Lord will see you through. Sandy calls me for the last 2 or 3 Saturdays, and I'm running around and got into some things and planned my day, and she'll happen to see in the paper that there's a group of well-intended, good, godly citizens. Michelle, I can't think of Michelle's last name now, ready to say Crisden, but maybe I'm wrong there. Michelle Crisden, but anyway, Michelle, who used to work at the Cash Bar. Now, soon I say that, a lot of y'all know which Michelle I'm talking about. Anyway, bumped into her and her husband down at the supermarket today. And anyway, Sandy, I'll go back to that in a second. I know I'm jumping around, but Sandy calls and tells me that there's going to be the chain of prayer, the circle in and around Northeast or East Side or here or there on that particular Saturday at a certain time. And she's giving me a heads up, usually leave it on my answer service because I'm ripping and running. And when I check it, she's saying, I don't know if you want to go by or whatever, they're going to be at such and such a place. And anyway, having things already planned and running around, I haven't been able to do it for the last 2 or 3 Saturdays. Bumping into Michelle and her husband this morning at the supermarket, and as we embraced and got to talking about what y'all up to, what's going on, her husband said to me, well, I'm sure you've been hearing about the circle chain of prayer, or something to that effect. And I said, yeah, I have. My sister calls me about that, but it's always too late. And he said, well, we're having one over in Southbridge, and this is for you Southbridge folks. Anybody else want to come by and help out and want to be a part of the prayer and whatnot in Southbridge? And God knows we need prayer. Prayer changes things, and we can't just pray and stop the work. We got to do it all, but God knows we need prayer. Amen, amen, and amen again. And anyway, they're coming into Southbridge. The chain of prayer and whatever it's called is going to take place this Saturday, Saturday coming in the Winston Truett Park right there at A and Newcastle Avenue, right next to the firehouse. Many of you know where Southbridge is, you know where that is. They're going to be handing out or giving out food. They're going to have food there starting around 1:30, I think they said. Food from about 1:30 to 3, and then from there they're going to have what they call the human chain, hold hands and have prayer, that we get a handle on the problems and issues and concerns of our community. It's a beautiful thing that they're doing. They're a group of committed folks that work so very hard to make sure that they're out and visible, and we need to support it as whatever way in which we can. Again, this is next Saturday in Southbridge, right at A and Newcastle Avenue, at right next door to the firehouse, the park there, the Winston Truett Park. Winston, as you know, is one who had a bout with drugs. Winston got his life together. He got into the church at Mount Joy Church, my church, and Winston reached out and wanted to help a whole lot of other people that were out there in that muck and mire, that were caught up in the drugs and whatnot. Winston wanted to help them get their life back. Winston not only sought them out as best he could, tried to convince them, and some he did, to go in and get treatment, long-term treatment. Winston took a lot of them up to a program in Philadelphia that received them, and there are a lot of folks that were helped by Winston Truett, God bless his soul, who's no longer with us, as a result of the efforts and work that he done. Winston would come by the Kingcenter with some of those folks sometime. Herm got a problem, got so-and-so with me, I need some gas money and some food money, want to take them on up, and we worked that out and let him go and do what he had to do, and he'd get them up there and come back and let me know they were accepted and all that. Let me just say along those lines in the work that we do at Kingcenter, the bottom line is that the resistance of people just caught up in their own addiction. They're just so caught up in the muck and mire and the problems of their lives and chasing that drug of choice that they're just not themselves. They're not themselves. They're not rational in a lot of cases. They're not rational. Their children taken away from a lot of the women. Some of them do things that they're ashamed to have to admit that they do to be able to get money, to get their drug of choice. There are men that do things that they're not proud of, trying to take a package of dope here or there, whatever, and be able to come back and get some money or get a drug of choice to get high and to take away their sickness, their craving, their pain, and even up and into robbing, shooting, breaking in, and stealing to be able to get money to be able to support their addiction. It's a very sad, sad life, and it's something that, again, it's a sickness, as they say. Addiction is a sickness, and it's not something that we, the people that look on, that are rational folks that don't do it, we don't really understand that sickness and that pain and that craving for that drug of choice when your body is running out of that last high in your system that you've gotten, and now you're beginning to feel that you need another. We don't understand that. We haven't been there. It's a sickness. It's a craving. It's a sickness. And as a result, there are so many folks out there that we come in contact with. People, family members call into the Kingcenter, call me at home. I talk with them. I went to Junie Evans' funeral, and I talked with a lady that was an aunt of the young lady that I met with several times, going back a bit, around Christmas time that I told you about. Tried to get her to come on and go right now. We'll get you fixed up, whatever you need. Go make sure you got your personals or whatever. Let's go do this right now. Let's try to get you in Kirkwood detox. Can I do it later? I don't want to do it right now. Want to go see my daughter, want to go do this. The birthday's coming up. That's the way it is. They're not bad people. They're people that are caught up in an addiction. It's a sickness. And we as rational people look on. You don't have to do that. Have it in my own family. And we fuss and argue, and you don't have to do that. You need to get your life straight. Not that easy, folks. Not that easy. The bottom line is we catch them, and they're ready to go one by one by one. And let's keep encouraging them, pumping them up, motivating them. As we catch them one by one, let's get them to the proper treatment facility. Let's allow them to detox out. Let's be there for them. Let's be encouraging family members who have had to tough love them and turn your back on them. Don't even want to see them. Breaks your heart. Some of them just dwindle down to almost nothing more than skin and bone. And it breaks your heart to see them. Friends and people and family members that you grew up with, to see what that drug of choice has done to them. And God knows if we could wrestle them down, tie them up, and take them to a treatment place and make them stay there and get the treatment and get their life together, we'd be ready to do that. But it's against the law. We cannot do that. They got to want to go on their own. They got to agree to go and agree to stay. Even the treatment facilities, in or outpatient, they cannot make them stay in the program. If they go through it in 2 or 3 days or a week, and they say, I'm out of here, I want to leave, there are no locks on the doors. They cannot make them stay. And that's the hardcore reality that we're up against, aside from them being irrational, drug of choice, and being sick with the addiction, because it is a sickness. Okay, let me say that I want to talk about Senator Holloway for a minute. My dad, my best friend, my father, my role model, Senator Herman Holloway Sr. My dad passed, and I heard one of my sisters say that March the 14th would be 20 years of the death of my dad. He fought a good bout with cancer. It brought him down at one point. They thought they had got it all, or said they got it all, and Senator returned to work and in the community and leadership in Dover, and hung in for a good time, a good while there, and continuing to do the quality work and helping people that he loved to help. Strictly colorblind, folks with problems and issues, and the more serious, the more the senator would get up in arms against the system, the bureaucracy, wherever it was happening, and want to fight to support those persons to help make life better for them. That was his passion. My dad, Herman Holloway Sr., my mother's husband, Senator Herman Holloway Sr. And my sisters had talked and had worked to try to put together a program here today, and I was going to try to stretch it to go into the 7 o'clock hour and to bring on some people that had worked with my father, one who had not, but knew of him and knew of his legacy and things he had done, his successor, Senator Margaret Rose Henry. And they had talked with her, and she was going to join us here. And some other elected officials and those that had worked with him. Jim Harris, who was the assistant to Governor Pete DuPont, who was our very dear friend and worked very closely with us, and others. Cliff Hearn, former state representative and attorney in Wilmington. Cliff was going to come on, and some others whose names escape me now. But we're going to have a real heavy show, just going down memory lane, remembering Senator Herman Holloway Sr. And as things begin to pile up at the door, as they do each day, with me, both Kingcenter responsibility and clients and administrative work, and issues that we're working to resolve at the Wilmington Housing Authority and be able to move forward. My friends, as it continued to grow closer of the date, this date, because again, March 14th would have been was the date that my dad expired. My sister says 20 years ago now. And we felt that March 16th, the closest Sunday to that, would be this day to do this. But as I looked at my schedule and as I continued to be burnt out, I just felt that I needed to pull the plug on it, and that's why I'm here alone today. I want to thank each and every one of them who committed to come here and to talk and reminisce and reflect back on the life of Senator Herman Holloway Sr. and the goodwill and good godly work that he done. But I do that, and I hope to bring them on at a later date. I do that on every Father's Day and reflect back. There are others that do it on other programs, Sammy Congo and others, Harmon Carey and others. They reflect on my dad. And although we're so very proud of him as our father and all that he did, the fact of the matter is I find myself, like many others in leadership, not wanting to, if you will, for lack of a better phrase, just toot my own horn about my dad, who happened to have been that senator that did all that good stuff and the leadership that he did as state representative 1 year and then in the Senate for 31 years before he expired, died in public office. So there is the governor's, the state website, Delaware.gov or whatever it is. You can go on that and you can look up Senator Herman Holloway Sr. If you've forgotten and or you were kind of young coming through, I'd ask you to check it out. Delaware.gov, and I'm sure to get you there to the Senator Herman Holloway Sr. section and his legacy and leadership. Please, those of you that are listening to me this very moment, would you please share with your younger sons, daughters, grandkids, great-grands, take the time to spend a few minutes and talk with them about the life of a very hard-working, good, decent, honest family man who reared 5 children and did the best he could, although they weren't the best of days always. And Dad, many times I laugh about it, couldn't keep a job because Dad would get a job and Dad had such a solid pride and good godly personality about him. But Dad felt that he too was somebody, and anybody that attempted to, in his mind, talk down to him or go against his manhood or his integrity, he didn't care whether it was the boss or not, and he could fire him. And he got fired. He did get fired on some of those jobs. But Dad would step to him. You don't have to talk to me like that. I'm a man. And Dad be done messed up, showed up late many times and everything else. But again, there was a right and wrong way to address him about it. And if you wanted to fire him in the right way, and he's gone on out the door. But that happened. And we've seen some difficult, tough days at our house at 636 Townsend Street in Southbridge. There were some tough days of which my dad and my mother had to contact friends or family and to be able to borrow some money to be able to make the meal for that evening and for breakfast the next morning and lunch money for us. We've seen some of those days. And a lot of people look at you, they see you later on down the road and the senator and a nice car and a nice home and dressing nice, and all the kids appear to be doing very well. And people see that and they kind of feel that that's the way it was all along the way. Heck no. I remember my dad getting up, being locked in them real serious snowstorms, knee deep, where the cars couldn't even get out. And I remember my dad may have had one of those clinkers or may not even had a car, because many days he didn't have a car. And I remember my dad walking from 636 Townsend Street in Southbridge. And Alvin, if you can cut that air off till I go off there, I'd appreciate it. I don't know if you can or not, but I'm getting a little chilly in here. But anyway, this air condition pops on and off in here to help the cameras or whatever. But I remember my dad walking from 636 Townsend Street, 600 block of Townsend Street, our home, wrapping up good in the winter in the deep snow, and walking in town to 917 French Street, the Monday Club, and going up there to talk to some of the guys, Selassie, Boots Broynton, and some of the others that were doing pretty good, that were friends of his. And Dad would go up there to have a drink and laugh and talk with them and to borrow some money from them until he can give it back. And they would give him a ride back over the bridge. But Boots, who always lived out in Dunleaf, would give Dad a ride back. I'm telling you some hard times in real life for Senator Herman Holloway Sr. and some of the things he did as a father, 100% dad, to make sure, the head of the household, that there was something to eat in our house every day, all 3 meals. I don't remember a time when we had to go without a meal, miss a meal. Never a time in the 636 Townsend Street Holloway household. As a result of my dad, head of household, he would walk through the snow in town, 8th Street Road, over the Walnut Street Bridge, 3rd Street Bridge, and go to the Monday Club to make sure that the children that he brought into this world, as well as the wife that he married, were going to have something to eat. I can remember times that we would take the bags, I know a lot of you do too, that's old school. We would take our sandwiches to school and our lunch and a piece of fruit and a little something sweet to eat, a couple cookies or whatever. And I remember that if the wax paper wasn't soiled and if the brown paper bag wasn't soiled, we were charged with the responsibility of the children, like many of you, to fold it up wrap it up and put it back in our book bag so that it could be used for the next day's lunch. Now, I'm telling you the real deal. I'm talking about old school, and I'm telling you the real deal. So again, very proud of my dad. I know a lot of you out in TV land are too, that knew and learned of him, and those of you that work with him, that had an opportunity to cross paths with him in his life, and my mother, Ethel Mae Johnson Holloway, and my family, you know, and we've continued to just bloom and prosper with the good godly personality, thank God, to the way they reared us as young children. Made us, we had to go to Sunday school. We had to have an Easter piece as young children. Under the leadership of my Sunday school teacher was Mrs. Lavinia Starks, Reverend Starks. That was my Sunday school teacher. Always had to have an Easter piece and go to Sunday school. Had to do it. That's the household that we were reared up in. My parents were great parents, like all of you who feel you've had great parents. God bless those that have not had that kind of godly unity in their household. God bless you. God bless you. And I would say to you, if you haven't had it, particularly you the sons in a family, I pray that you will understand and will continue to strive, no matter what you're up against today, that you will strive to be the best father, the best role model that you can, the best family, head of household, should you have children and rear a family. It's because you have the awesome godly responsibility to not repeat the cycle. You got to work hard, you got to be inventive, you got to be creative, you got to find ways, no matter what you've been through, to get back in the mainstream of life. So many people out there that are felons have tremendous skill and capability and trade-like, good with tools, good with the hands, good with fixing automobiles and things. You can draw very well, sing very well. You got to take the God-given talent that you were given, and you got to work that. You got to work that. And if you do, you will find that your whole life can change almost in an instant, by way of how you'll feel with peace and joy in your heart, no matter where you are in life. Peace and joy in your heart that will allow you to start feeling good about yourself, and you'll start connecting with people that love you all over the place. Find yourself a good church house. Find yourself somebody that's going to work with you, and there are a lot of good folks and agencies out there and people that want to help you. Again, as I close, let me just simply say, Southbridge, Saturday, 1:30, they're going to start serving food, hot dogs, burgers, chicken sandwiches, whatever. They're going to have food there in the Winston Park, that's A and Newcastle Avenue. I plan to be there, and they're going to have the chain of prayer as they do in the Winston Park at 3 p.m. Put the word around if you can make it. God bless you, Michelle, you, your husband, and all of you all over our community that are stepping out on blind faith, reaching out and trying to take our communities back, and doing all that you can do to build a hope for somebody out in our community that has lost their way. Until next time, God bless. Okay.
Osborne's Auto Repair, serving downtown Wilmington for 30 years. Delaware State certified in auto emissions. We do tune-ups, brakes, air conditioning, all car needs. Stop in and see Ed Osborne or his son, Ed Osborne Jr. That's Osborne's Auto Repair, 658-0377, or visit us on the web at osbornesauto.com. Stop in and see Osborne's.